to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan.
I'm Jessica Faust.
If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our weekly videos. So today we are answering the question of what do literary agents do all day? I would love to know.
I feel like in my many years of this job, probably the number one interview question I've gotten besides what do you represent has been, what does the average day for a literary agent look like? And there is no such thing.
There's no such thing. And I get the question all the time from like family and friends, like, what is your job? I'm like, hang on.
Right. There are other jobs where you kind of show up and you do the same thing every day, because this job is not that. What I can tell you we don't do all day are the things that people think. We don't read all day.
No, yes, that's a good point. That's what everybody thinks, like, oh, cool, you just read books all day. No.
Can you imagine? Could I get that job?
I know, that's got to be nice. Like to have one of your like influencer book clubs, they've got the life.
But even they're not reading all day, right? If you're an influencer, you've got to take the pictures and you're probably reading a lot of books just to get to the one. Like Reese Witherspoon is not reading and picking, or Oprah, just one book every month. Like they're reading and analyzing a handful of books before they decide which is going to be the book.
Right. Yeah. But
I digress.
We
a
do.
lot.
Anyway, we do that often, I suppose.
Well, how about if I start and talk a little bit about my day and we can kind of go back and forth?
Sure. Yeah, that works.
So, I mean, should I really start from the beginning?
I was just going to say, the chief difference is that Jessica starts her day at 4 in the morning. So if we want to ask the question from 8 a.m. on.
Well, I mean, to be honest, 4 in the morning really starts my day, and it really does help define, I get up and I meditate and I write gratitudes. Yeah. And a lot of that is also very connected with what I do here. I listen to podcasts a lot, and I have a notebook that I keep at home next to my chair where I write out blog post ideas. I fill my reminders on my phone as Olive and I are walking. If something in a podcast inspires me, I'll do like remind me later today to write a blog on blah, 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 blah. And then of course it's this jumbled reminder that I have to somehow try to make sense of later. But so my day does start very early, but in some sense, I am in a working head in that. Like when I sit down to write a blog, I'm not just like, oh, I'm going to sit down and what am I going to blog about? Like all of that has been done earlier in the day or the week or even the month.
Yeah, it's funny because so what I do is I call it jot space. So every morning I either, if it's in a page in a notebook or like one of our pads or something like that, I write down everything I think I have to do that day, who I want to answer to, who I want to email. And that's sort of mine. And I do it as soon as I wake up, really, as soon as I get to my office, I write everything down. So you're doing that over the course of like being out and about. And I'm just like, okay, dump it all, like a brain dump it all out. And then I can sort of parse through, is this today? Is this tomorrow? Is this next week? What's the first thing I have to do? What's the biggest? And sort of project and time manage from there.
So beyond that is the first thing you do pretty much every day. Do you have sort of I start the day with this, or is it really just depend on that list?
Yeah, so I start with that list, and then the next thing I do is I always go to email and Slack. So Slack is the easiest. Usually I'm pretty caught up from the day before, but then I go to email. I answer anything that's super easy. I'll schedule emails that I want to go out later. And then anything big will sort of get added to my brain dump jot space kind of thing. And then it's like every hour you are constantly reevaluating what you have to do. But email is the first thing that I do actually on the computer when I am starting the day.
Yeah, my start tends to be always Slack to check in what I might have missed from the night before, just see where everybody's at. I might have a short conversation if there's anybody who's in as early as me. And then that gets shut down for me. Query Manager is a big part of my morning. It's sort of an easy way for me to ease into things and get into my work head. I can read queries. I can just sort of like settle in before I have to go into email and do the real work.
Yeah.
Um,
That's funny. I do those at night. Those
I
are
do
my
'em
like sitting on the couch kind of
right.
looking through Query Manager and responding. I mean, authors who query me that are watching right now might know if you queried me, you got a response like 11 p.m. because that's just
Right.
when I'm reading them. I feel like they are the best thing to do in my free time.
For me, they're my procrastination tool. When I'm switching tasks in the office, a lot of times when it would be the time when people would go to Twitter or social media, I go to my query manager. So I am in my query manager, I don't know, 5 or 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Just, going through. It's when I just like, I need to sort of decompress before the next thing.
And that's funny too, because it's kind of like nothing in this job is the same every day. And it kind of changes on where you're at with your list. Are you like hungry to sign a new client? You're in Query
Yeah.
Manager more. Are you sort of full up on clients right now? You might pop in once a day or once a week or something like that.
Yeah, and it's about prioritizing.
Yeah.
So the top things of any day are going to, for me, which I think probably for an agent, are going to be contracts.
Yes.
So whether it's negotiating the physical contract after we've accepted a deal, whether it's negotiating a deal, those are understandably probably the top two things we
Right.
do in any given day. And this is why it's hard to sort of predict our day because, you know, we might have a week or two where we have no contracts that we're negotiating. And then all of a sudden, some
7
contract
contracts.
manager decided to come back from vacation. And now I have 5 of them I have to look at.
Yeah. So, and it's funny too, because then there are big seasons, right? Like last summer was huge. There were book sales left and right.
Oh
And then
my God, it was exhausting. I mean,
it was
beautifully exhausting.
it was beautifully exhausting. And then the not so beautifully exhausting part was in November, December when all those contracts hit. Because it usually takes
Yes.
anywhere from like 6 to 8 weeks. And
Yes.
that's when we got hit with all those contracts. And I remember looking at my pile of contracts on the desk and I was like, no, you can't do this to me. And it just changes by sort of the publishing environment, what's happening at that time.
Yep.
But
Well, and even our clients. I could have a pretty quiet week, and now come Tuesday, I could have 4 clients send me manuscripts that I now need to read and give feedback on and do all this work on. And no matter what I had planned for the next probably 3 weeks, that has suddenly flipped on its head.
exactly. One of the only constants, Query Manager, I think the top two, there's Query Manager, which is a constant for me every day I'm in it.
Yep.
And the other is my submissions tracking for clients and their books. I'm
Yep.
always looking at that and seeing sort of who needs to be nudged on, who needs to have new submissions go out, who is sort of coming to the end of a submission. That's something that I evaluate every single day because it changes every day. We can get a pass from an editor. So that never closes on my computer because I'm always updating it. You
I
never know what.
also I also read Pub Lunch, Pub Marketplace every single day. And every day when the day's deals come out, I take those deals and I look carefully and cross-check it with my submission list. And is there somebody I missed? Is
Right.
there somebody new? Is there fresh blood out there? Or,
And we share those together like this sounds so good.
yeah, we share deals that we're excited about, mostly jealous.
Yes.
Like, how did I not see this? Why is this not our book?
Yes. And then I think there's something else to be said too, especially for agents that are like you and me who have other roles inside the agency. So there's always going to be something else to do, right? I am always sort of working with you on social media or doing any sort of admin stuff behind the scenes. And you might not know that that's a role that another agent has in their agency, but they could be doing stuff like that.
I would say most every agent in some way, shape, or form has another role,
Yeah.
whether it's, an official title or not, or whether it's managing their own social media or, helping mentor a new agent or whatever it is. I think every, just like in every job, there's always another role of things that authors aren't even considering because it really has not a lot to do with them. It does, but it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, those things that are on the back end that sort of keep the business of an agency chugging along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's things like, calls and Zoom meetings with editors and
Yes.
um touching base with authors and phone calls with authors, and and those can fill up. Again, that can be another situation where I don't have much on my calendar, and then all of a sudden I'm back to back all
I
afternoon.
feel like mine alternates. Like one week I got nothing and I can just sort of work on stuff. But that's also the week that I'm sending revisions out and stuff like that. So the next week everybody needs to talk. And it's just
Yeah.
like sort of that cycle and it never ends. So,
And now I think the question a lot of our viewers are going to want to know is, okay, nobody mentioned reading submissions.
exactly. We did that on purpose.
Yeah, and this goes back to, when do we read? So if I am editing a client's work, for me personally, I block off time in the morning. It's when I'm personally most productive. That's when I do contracts, and that's when I do revisions and reading of a client's work, is the morning, when I can really dig in. And I can't do it all day long. I would assume most writers are not writing for 8 hours a day. And I think that editing and revisions is an equally creative process, just a different end of it. And I can't edit a book for 8 hours. So I give myself a couple hours every day, and that's pretty much my max.
Yeah, I mean, I can do chunks of a book at a time, and that's why we always tell clients, give us a couple weeks and we'll get back to you.
Right.
Because it's hard
Now,
to
on
sit down.
quiet days or weeks, I might pull up a submission. Especially, I sort of rate my submissions. When I request material, I rate them. Those I think are going to be hot and go fast and I need to read first, and those that I'm interested in, but I might not need to jump on quite as fast. And so there might be a lunchtime where I can plop in my chair and pull up my Kindle and read some of a submission. But a lot of that is at night and other times.
Yeah, and I tend to not read submissions on my work computer. So I have my work desktop and then my computer and my Kindle. And if I read submissions on my work computer, I am almost certainly going to get dragged into something else because that's the
Right.
type of personality I have. So I read on my personal computer because it's separate and I can just pull them up, or my Kindle because that's on the go. And that's how I read my submissions, which is, I will never be at my desk if I don't want to work. I will be somewhere else.
All my submissions I read on a Kindle. It gives me that real book feel, I think, and that and it really lets me know, like when I'm reading a book, do I want to continue reading this? Is this, and especially if I put it down, am I still thinking about it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I read all of my novels on the Kindle. And it's
Yeah.
just an easier reading experience too. Like having all of the toolbars and all of that and all the distractions on a computer, it really does take you out of a submission.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we hope that was a very disorganized but insightful look into what agents do all day.
Well, I think it's a very real look at our day. We're there is no
It's
real
sort of
predicting.
it's a disorganized job.
We're really just trying to get the work done.
Yes, and not
That's the best we
drown
can
in
say.
it. Yeah, and it's just a matter of, that's what I think makes a great agent on the inside, like being able to know, this is what I have to do today, this is what I can do later, this is what I can do tomorrow, and being able to juggle all of that, because it's really the hardest part about
And
all of it.
knowing when you can push stuff off when you have to.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden you have 3 hours of phone calls that weren't in the calendar, and that day and that list is going to dramatically change.
Yes, and as your list grows, the whole job is project management, because as your list grows, so does your to-do list, and it's just managing that.
Managing. Yep.
Yep. Well, we hope that was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can join us back here next week with our next video. Oh, Jessica froze. Oh, Jessica's back.
I was just standing still.
Oh, I thought you froze. That was impressive.